Okay, the second major movement here is to see creation as God's temple. And we probably all say, oh yeah, sure, of course. But let's think about this a little bit more carefully. The Pentateuch, written by Moses, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, were written in a cultural context. The Israelites were coming out of Egypt, of course. So Egyptian cosmological ideas, religious ideas were familiar to them. But they were moving into Canaan, where it was not primarily Egyptian, but it was more ancient Near Eastern or Mesopotamian, Akkadian influences. And both the Mesopotamian and the Egyptian religions talked about creation or cosmology using architectural metaphors. But beyond that, they saw creation, this architecture of creation, as the gods building the universe as a temple for themselves, for their own holy places. So this kind of an idea is rather common in the ancient Near East. And when we come to the development in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, we see a rather similar idea that creation is God's tabernacle or God's temple, and the earthly tabernacle built in Exodus and then reflected in the temple built in by Solomon and Kings is a reflection of that, an earthly building reflecting the cosmos, which is really God's temple. We see, here's just a number of references to that. Let me read Isaiah 66, 1 and 2. Heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. Where is the house you will build for me? Where is my resting place? Has not my hand made all these things? So they came into being. God says, I made my temple. I made my throne room. You can't build a house for me. But this same idea, creation is God's temple. The temple built with hands, the tabernacle built with hands, is a mere reflection of the cosmic temple. A number of authors have noted the parallels between the days of creation and the days or the various stages in Exodus of giving the instructions for the building of the tabernacle. There's the same introductory formula. There's 7 stages. Day 7 in Genesis is rest. Here at the end of this section in Exodus, we have the Sabbath. Comparing it to Leviticus, we say God says that this is what ought to be the case. Reading this portion of the Old Testament in light of the cultural backgrounds has enabled Old Testament scholars to see with clarity what we in our day would miss, but what would have been evident to the Israelites. That in writing the creation account and coupling it with the construction of the tabernacle in Exodus, Moses is saying to the people, just like the people in Egypt thought, just like the Mesopotamians thought, but on a much grander scale, the Lord Yahweh created the universe as His dwelling place, as His temple. And our creation of the sanctuary is just a small mirror of that. The scholar that has made this view popular in recent years is John Walton, who now teaches at Wheaton College. In this book, The Lost World of Genesis 1, some of you may be familiar with that. I don't agree with everything he says in there, but this section of what I find persuasive. So if you bear with me, I want to read you a somewhat extended quotation here. He refers to a particular scholar who, presenting this imagery, concludes that the temple was the world that the omnipresent God filled to its limits. Indeed, the temple is, for all intents and purposes, the cosmos. This interrelationship makes it possible for the temple in Jerusalem, or the tabernacle before that, to be the center from which order in the cosmos is maintained. This idea is prevalent in the ancient Near East, in Mesopotamia, and in Egypt. As the sacrifices, as the rituals are performed religiously in the sanctuary, they are in some sense maintaining the cosmos. If they didn't do that, then the various gods of the Egyptian or the Mesopotamian pantheon would devolve into chaos. And there's something of that idea in the Old Testament. He says in the biblical text, the descriptions of the tabernacle and temple contain many transparent connections to the cosmos. This connection was explicitly recognized as early as the 2nd century AD in the writings of the Jewish historian Josephus, who says of the tabernacle, quote, "Every one of these objects is intended to recall and represent the universe." Josephus recognized that all the various features, the furniture and the implements in the temple, in the tabernacle, were recalling the universe. Most important are the great water basin, the laver, the bronze laver, or the molten sea, depending on your translation, which 1 Kings 7:23 designates as a sea, and the bronze pillars, which perhaps represent the pillars of the earth. The horizontal axis of the temple was arranged in the same order as the vertical axis in the cosmos. In the outer chamber were the menorah, the table of bread, and the incense altar. In the Pentateuch's description of the tabernacle, the lamp and its olive oil are provided for light. The word for light is the same word used to describe the celestial bodies. God created the lights. He doesn't name them sun and moon in Genesis 1. So creating the lights, and then we have the light in the tabernacle and the temple. And the Israelites should have got the message. God created these lights to light the world. He's put the light in His sanctuary, and you are to be the light of the world in that sense as well. And he goes on. And then he says the Garden of Eden is not viewed by the author of Genesis simply as a piece of Mesopotamian farmland, but as an archetypal sanctuary. That is a place where God dwells and where man should worship Him. Many of the features of the garden may also be found in later sanctuaries, particularly the tabernacle or Jerusalem temple. These parallels suggest that the garden itself is understood as a sort of sanctuary. And in Revelation 21, we read that there's no sea in the new heavens and the new earth, but a river flows out from it, and alongside of it are the trees of life. So even in that culminating sanctuary, we have echoes of the earthly sanctuary. The point here is creation is not just there as a stage, it's there as a temple. Now, we know, of course, that we are the temple of God. The Holy Spirit dwells in us. We don't go to a temple in Jerusalem. Each of us have the indwelling Spirit. But just as the Jerusalem temple didn't negate the cosmic temple, so the fact that we are temples doesn't negate the cosmos as God's temple.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.